Hello, thanks for joining me for another review. Right, Kernel beer. And this was part of our Good Beer Live that we held on the 9th of February of 2019. And this is the first beer we tried. It's obviously their Kernel Brewery, their Pale Ale, Nelson Sauvin, Galaxy. Coming in, as you've already seen, 5.4% ABV. There's still quite a lot in the bottle there. It's obviously already open. It's been open for a little while. So, yeah. Here it is. Pretty damn good looking. Not mega hazy beer, but yeah. Let me just pour a little bit more in. 500ml bottle as well, which is really cool. Try and generate a little bit more of a head in this. Notoriously, this brewery, I think they've been going like 9 years or so, something like that. I first tried them in around about 2012, 2013, something like that. One of my first kind of, you know, introduction to craft beer. There's a few other breweries in London at the same time that I was trying, but this was one of them, and blew me away. And every beer I've had since have just been of the highest quality, world class. So we'll leave that little bit in the bottom. It might haze up a little bit more, but yeah, as you can see now, it's for this day and age, with, you know, the way hazy beer is, it's not kind of overly hazy. It's very hazy looking on the camera now, but yeah, it's not. It's very kind of light, fluffy looking beer. Obviously a nice kind of orangey colour, but sort of a light orange. Not much of a head on that pour, but yeah. Thanks to Honest Brew for sending us the beer. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the actual code, but I'll put the code link down below. I think it's GBL. Can't remember. It's down below because it's a new code, so check it out. Aroma. Oh well, okay. Getting a kind of a, it's a very kind of dry, slightly earthy, slightly kind of herbaceous, a little bit kind of prickly pear. I'm actually getting more of a kind of a malt thing going on now that the beer's at room temperature. It started off when we was on the show, obviously it's straight out of the fridge, but now it's room temperature. It's that time to, you know, expand and open up to other aromas, which is what I'm getting now. I'm getting like a granary kind of bread malt, almost like crackery. Yeah, more of a cracker. But yeah, with that, it's kind of subdued, slightly earthy, maybe a little bit of kind of dried lemon, white grape, which is Nelson Sauvin through and through. But yeah, it's opened up and the actual malt is coming through just a little bit. So let's see what it tastes like. Cheers. Wow. To the point where it's opened up so much more than when we first opened the bottles that the malt is kind of adding to the hop. It's a very well kind of balanced beer now. It was balanced before, but it's even more so now. That crackery kind of brown bread note is definitely pulling through on the malt. Not overly sweet. Body wise, it's kind of the lower end of medium. I say this does vary the ABV for this beer. Like most of the Kernel beers, you'll go on to Untapped and your bottle will say this and that will say this and vice versa. So it's 5.4 this one. This was bottled on the 11th of December of 2018. Best before the 11th of April of 2019, so not particularly a long shelf life. It's how it should be. 500ml bottle as well, as I've already said. But yeah, the Kernel Brewery, they're out of Bermondsey in London, part of the beer mile, the original beer mile. They don't have a tap. They used to have a tap room. They don't have a tap room anymore. But yeah, solid, absolutely solid. Just fantastic stuff. Let's pour the rest of this in and see if it hazes up anymore. Let me just get my fingers properly prepared around this glass. It might do. Yeah, it's a shade darker. Although the light is just above the camera there. But yeah, we'll clean the bottom out of that. So, I mean, that's a little bit more like what's going on now when you add the bottom of the bottle sediment. If you don't want the sediment, obviously it's optional. But for me, I've been used to drinking Belgian beers and things like that. Back in the early 2000s, say, before any of this sort of beer was around, really, or maybe like Heady Topper. Yeah, early 2000s, even pre Heady Topper, which started all this craze. I used to swill the bottle round and just pour all of it in. That's just me though, and that's what they recommended back then. The Belgians, they know a thing or two. Let's see if it's tasting any different. Nice kind of creamy white fluffy head now. Yeah, it's just slightly more creamier mouthfeel. Not too overly sweet. You are getting them kind of fruits, but they kind of subdued a little bit. It's more of a rounded beer now, which is, sometimes it's. I always try and, especially when I'm drinking a bottle in a bar. Not that it happens often, because obviously most things are on tap these days. But if I get a bottle, I'll drink it in stages. I'll pour half in, drink it sort of half, the top half of the beer, not all of it, but just have a fair sample of it, and then I'll drink the bottle in thirds, and then I'll pour the the other sort of third, leaving about an inch or two at the bottom. Have a few sips of that, see how it changes throughout the whole bottle. And it's surprising the amount of times that it does change. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's just no. But some beers just like it, kind of almost like 3 different beers in one bottle, and then you get the last bit, swirl it all up, put it in like this, and yeah, definitely more of a creamier, smoother, rounded beer. Still getting that kind of malt, crackery, brown bready kind of thing going on. But yeah, absolutely fantastic beer. In terms of a rating then, before I go into that, I'm just going into the bottle. Yeah, so it's a bottle conditioned beer. Store upright and pour gently. If you prefer to leave the yeast sediment inside the bowl, as what I just said. Drink fresh. Ingredients are water, hops, sugar, yeast and barley. Nothing else to talk about on the bottle, because obviously, there's all the information. Kind of pause it, give you a bit more. But yeah, they're out of Bermondsey. They've got, it's more of a bottle shop now. It's just all their products that they currently have. And yeah, they used to have a tap room, as I've said. Anyway, quite easily to get hold of here in the UK, and highly recommended. So for a rating then, for me, I'm going to give this a 4.25 out of 5, so it's an 8.5 out of 10. Over to Untapped then. See, this beer has been around since August the 14th of 2013, so it's been out a fair while. I mean, it's not got that many ratings, so they've not brewed this particular beer, obviously, for quite a while, judging by 174 actual ratings. Checking wise, it's had 234 since 2013, since August 2013. Not many, so that gives you a clue. This is obviously their second batch of this beer. Hence, obviously the first batch must have been 5.2 and this is 5.4. So 174 ratings, then coming in at 3.96 on the Untapped scale. So that's pretty damn good. It's just under like an 8. I'm giving this a little bit higher, a 4.25. This says fresh hop, very refreshing pale ale. So there you go. Let me know if you've had this one recently or if you've had this one in the past. It'd be really interesting to see what you think if you've been on Untapped that long. But yeah, this is the Kernel from Brewery from London, and this is their Pale Ale Galaxy Nelson Sauvin, or Nelson Sauvin Galaxy as it says on the bottle. 5.4% ABV. Fantastic. If you see it, buy it. See what you think. A 500ml bottle as well. So, thanks for watching. Thanks to Honest Brew. Check out the code down in the description box below, and I'll see you on the next review. Cheers.